melt is when I'm ocean waves.
Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have Messiah coach Scott Frey, who once again is taking his team to the Final Four of Division III women's soccer. Coach, I had a great time talking to you last year. I was excited that you guys are back in the mix. Good to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, glad to. Appreciate the offer.
Oh, of course. Well, Coach, last year you told me, in the old days, you wanted to be playing on Thanksgiving. It was very important for you to play on Thanksgiving. And so your season is not a success this year because you're not playing on Thanksgiving. With the way the schedule is now, it seems like you guys have a 2-week break every year, and then you end up in Salem, Virginia, of all places. So how did that evolve? Has it always been Salem? And I know the timing has changed recently.
No, it's been probably, I would say 7-8 years plus that they had given us Thanksgiving off. So back when I first started, in 2000, that was sort of the motto. Be playing on Thanksgiving, don't be home for Thanksgiving was sort of the hope. But they changed it a couple of years ago, and it's nice having a break, to be honest. At this point of the year, to have a week to just sort of breathe. I was thinking even last week, my gosh, I can't imagine we'd be going off to the Final Four in 2 days type of thing. So, but you did it. As far as the host site, it's been many different places. Just the last couple of years, it's been in Roanoke. We've been to Disney. We've been to San Antonio, Texas, Kansas City. It's been all over the place. I think next year's Vegas, and then it's back to Virginia. So the host site changes basically year to year, but the last couple has been Roanoke and Salem.
And do you like it down there? Does it work? So in Virginia, see, I'm
Sure.
an attorney, and you only go there if you're going to take the bar exam. So when you think about Roanoke and Salem, it's not a great memory because it's a very stressful time in your life. But does it work down there?
It does. I think what's nice for us, it's only 4.5 hours away, so it's a bus ride. It's close enough for family and friends. When you have the event like in San Antonio, Texas, and Disney and Vegas, that sounds great, but that's really hard for fans to get to. Yeah. When it's only 4 hours away, people who are in the area, just even Messiah people themselves, that's an easy day trip to come down.
Yeah, and it's cost effective as well. I mean, we're spending a lot of money this time of year. So, let me remind folks of your incredible record. This is your 24th year at Messiah.
Yeah.
6 national champions. It's time for you to get one more, Coach. 19 conference championships, 14 Final Fours, 4-time National Coach of the Year. Also took the men's side, Alma College, to the Final Four. And you were an assistant coach at Messiah. You're 84 alum yourself. Played for the great Leighton Shoemaker. And your Messiah team, 21-2 this year. No ties, interestingly enough, which is hard to do this year. Yeah. And you got a late goal from Hannah Adair. Must have been a great moment to get here. But when I was going through your resume again, one thing I find interesting, and this is the European influence of soccer, is that you're a B license. So here you are, one of the most accomplished coaches in American soccer. And we give you a B. It's a very European system. I'm sure there's a lot of good things about licensing coaches, and I think other sports are doing it now as well, because we need the coaches at the youth levels especially need instruction on how to coach, learn about the game, and we probably need more coaches. But what do you think about the licensing system? Is it a positive system in your eyes?
To be honest, I don't know enough about it other than the fact that you sort of have to do it sometimes. Yeah. I think what's interesting in the college game, you don't have to. There's no expectation, but when you get into some of the club levels, and then definitely if you want to, coach, I don't say, like national team type programs and levels, like that coaching thing always matters, or the license things always matters. What I find interesting, like one of my best friends, who's a fantastic coach, like I'm just talking to him on the phone. He was coaching at the USL level, right? Men's level, and really good team, but they couldn't hire him back because they changed the rules. And he doesn't have his licenses either. He doesn't have his A or his B. He doesn't even have his B, but he's one of the most phenomenal coaches I know. I can also tell you a bunch of coaches that have their license, and you go like, I wouldn't want to drive with them, right? I'm just saying, the license, I think the licensing thing does it says I've taken time to learn about the game a little bit. I don't think it tells you how you apply what you know. And there's a difference between, right? I could be educated or I could be a great teacher.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I asked Dave Nolan this question last week from Georgetown, and he's in his 25th year. So you guys are about the same time in terms of coaching. And do these cup runs, these tournament runs, what do they do to you at this point in your career? Does it make it all worth it when your team goes deep in tournament? Is it a stressful thing? Are these just things that keep you going on? What do you think about these tournament runs?
I think the more it's happened, it becomes more of an enjoyment for the players. Like, okay, this is new for them. It may not be new for me, and that's okay. I realize over years, right? 20 some years, and you've done it a couple of times, doesn't really change your life, right? My life isn't going to be better if we win this thing or lose this thing, because I've done both and neither's true. But for the players, this is theirs. Like, this is their one time. And I think that's what, more than anything else, it has done is like, okay, has nothing to do with me, truly, like nothing. Yeah. But it is their moment. And so my job is to prepare them. My job is to help them, be the best that they can possibly be at this moment that they have. Yeah.
Well, when you think back on your seasons, and many of those seasons were championship seasons, what makes a season the most memorable? Is it because you won it, or is it maybe the chemistry that you had with the kids? Maybe this was a group that you went further with than you should have. What really makes the season most memorable to you at this point in your career?
Sure. And I think it's, it's always been that, seeing how far a team comes from beginning in August to now. And that, I mean, for this team, if you would have said to us last December when we walked off the field at the Final Four, were we going to get back here next year? And the answer is, we're going to be happy to make the playoffs. I'm serious. I mean, we had graduated 9 players from that team, and we were going to have a lot of new faces. And we went into August going like, this is going to be a process. I don't know where it's going to get to. It could be good by the end. It might be, but we got a lot to figure out, in the next 3 months. And I think that's what's been most amazing about this season is there's been so many interesting stories with the team that you would go, there's no way they're getting to this point. But they have. And I think that's what's been the joy part is they have bought into coaching. They've bought into, just learning and becoming a group. Like every year for us, like chemistry, dynamics, I call that's a given. Like that needs to happen. That's part of our culture. But just the experience, that's the piece that I think we didn't have in August was experience. And I knew that was going to take time. Yeah. And the time, they just have come farther than I would ever have imagined in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I think it's the growth of a team that I most enjoy.
Yeah, Coach, it seems a little bit rare because I do watch quite a lot of college soccer, and the teams are getting more and more experience. And I think it's because of the COVID year. I probably watch more Division I, so maybe it's a little bit different Division III level. But it seems like it's harder and harder for young players to get playing time early. And as a matter of fact, it's almost like they're almost relied upon all in on their last year or two, and even the graduate year. I know you mentioned your youth, your leading scorer, Hannah Adair, 12 goals, 4 assists. She's a sophomore. She didn't start any games last year. Brittany Laird, freshman, 11 goals, 2 assists. You have 3 juniors in the mix as well. Bella Tuzo, 4 goals, 10 assists. That's amazing. Christina Axelson, 7 goals, 4 assists. Julia Martin, 7 goals, 5 assists. So you're getting young players in there. Is that a function of Messiah or luck of the draw, or maybe Division III is a little bit different than Division I because maybe kids aren't staying in school quite as long?
I would say that's for us a function this year of necessity. Like most years, we don't graduate 9 players. Most years, we bring back 2, probably 3/4 of our team. This year, almost half of our team was new. We had, we had a couple transfers, but of those, we had 3 transfers come in, but 2 of them got hurt right away. So only one of them has really played. So the rest have been freshmen adding to what we have. And it's just been a really unique place for us. I just looked at this as a 2-year team. I seriously looking at it, I'm going like, it's going to take us 2 years. And maybe by next year, we might be able to do something like this. But, Adair, yeah, she got hurt last year, played down the stretch a bit, but she never got to be what we thought she could be. And then she had knee surgery this past May, right after our spring. So when she came in August, she just started training in August, really. And so you saw this evolving of this player. And in the last month, you're going like, this girl's pretty special. But you wouldn't have said that last August, this August. And, Brittany Laird, she's an interesting story. Like her sister, Caitlin, plays for us. And Brittany hadn't played soccer for 2 years. She got hurt as a sophomore playing club soccer and basically walked away from the game and wasn't going to play again. But I had seen her. She's a top player, but she had sort of walked away from the game and really wasn't going to play again. Maybe play at a small D3 school that isn't very good. And we're like, you're too good if you want to play here, please come here, right? If you're going to play. So it's interesting stories like that. And then Caitlin Laird, her sister, she was a senior this year. She's had 2 years of medical issues. She hasn't played for 2 years because she's had a heart issue she would just pass out in training. And the doctors didn't know why. And for whatever reason this year, she's been healthy. And so you have all these really interesting stories that have occurred that these players have just had an opportunity to grow over the last couple of months. And now it's sort of coming together. It's been really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, coming together, maybe the understatement of the year. You lost two games early. Who'd you lose to again, Coach? You lost
we
to
lost William Smith.
And
then we lost to McDaniel.
And William Smith is perennial power. But ever since then, you've won 16 games in a row. So, I mean, that's a great run. It's hard to do in soccer, even though you're probably more talented than some of the teams you're going to play, you're going to beat. But 16 games in a row is pretty outstanding. When did you know that this team was special? I mean, it had to. A light bulb must have went out. You're like, this is getting fun.
Well, I think so. Our early season is against really good teams. We got a game against Hopkins, who's very good, and that was just a good measure. But we talk about things in Messiah, like we talk about Messiah 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. 1.0 is we can have the ball. And I thought we were a really good 1.0 team early in the year. We could pass the ball, we could keep it, but we didn't generate much. And when we played against like Hopkins and William Smith, we had the ball, but we weren't going anywhere, right? And so after that, we adjusted a few little things, right? Little tweaks, and then we kept teaching. And our schedule, I'd say it got easier. It did. It got easier as the season went. But now we could start to get to 2.0 and create and get to 3.0, which is to finish. But I think the question was for us, are we that good or not? And we didn't find that out really, I don't think, until we got back to the NCAA tournament and we played Williams and Amherst, who are just really good teams. And the question was, could we do what we do against the best? And it was like, okay, we can do some of that of what we are and what we've done against really good teams. So I would say there was a picture of what we could do, but we didn't know it until we played Williams and Amherst, who are just, teams that are just very, very good quality and we're going to test us for sure.
Yeah. Well, the team is much different than last year in terms of personnel because it's a much younger team. But one thing is the same is you have very balanced scoring. That was the same way last year. When I interview coaches, I try to look at the score sheet and see where the goals come from. And last year and this year, the goals are very spread out, lots of assists, and that may be a function is when you get in the conference and you're better than teams, you can get everyone a little bit of playing time. So maybe that's a little bit reason why it's so widespread. But that balance has got to be a nice thing when you get to tournament time.
It is, and I think it's also part of system and style. It's everybody's involved. It's not just relying on one or two players to try to figure it out on their own. But I think there's a plan to how we play that creates moments for different players at different times. And, like Julia Martin, like probably, I think of her 5 or 6 goals, probably 3 or 4 on corners. Like she's 5'2", but she finds a way to get on the end of things like nobody else, right? Like, how does she do that? I don't know. So, Bella Tuzo, like to have 10 assists, that's crazy,
It is crazy.
Unfortunately she got hurt and she hasn't been playing. So I'm not sure. She might be back for the weekend. We don't know. She's probably doubtful. So she's been out the last 2 games, actually. Actually since the NCAA run. She got hurt in the playoffs, in conference playoffs. So we haven't had her for the NCAAs at all. So yeah, it is. It's a bit of a blend, and that's sort of nice to have a couple players who, like, at the moment can get one.
Yeah. Well, recently, as you alluded to, the games have gotten closer, and it's a function of, again, you're back playing national type of programs like Amherst, Johns Hopkins, even though you didn't play exactly them. But anyway, were you concerned going into those games that did you know you were ready for those challenges? And did you coach any differently? Was your preparation any differently with kind of going up in class?
No. I mean, I think we hope what we do works. Meaning, like, this is who we are. Yeah, there was actually some moments where I went like, are we going to change our system? Do I think we can defend against teams that are just better up front than we've seen all season? And the more I looked at it, I was just like, this is what I need to trust. This is who we are. And that's where we stayed. And they responded to it. Like, our back set against Williams and Amherst were unbelievable. Against, I think, one of the best attacking groups we'll see all year. And yeah, I think they rose to say the least, like they rose to the occasion. And though they hadn't had, I said, we didn't have to defend for almost a month, like really defend. You're stuck in, you can't get out. We hadn't had to do that for over a month. And now we had to, like, bunker in and fight and scrape and claw. They had it in them.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the winning goal. So I believe it was in the 83rd minute. So in the back of your mind, you're thinking about, man, this thing could go to penalties, or you don't want to think negatively. You're trying to coach, but in the back of your mind, those thoughts probably start arising. Was that goal coming? And tell us about the moment when you scored that goal.
Well, depends which one you're talking about. That's happened to us twice.
Okay, so let's hear about both. Yeah.
All right. So the Amherst game, was a 50-50 back and forth, moments each team. And I thought by that part of the game, we're going to overtime and probably PKs, because both teams had sort of, settled in. They know who each other are, unless there's a breakdown somehow. Both teams are just so good defensively. There's not many more moments left, right? Not many moments left. And then, Hannah got played in a little bit, and on the left side, she had an amazing finish. I don't know, watched it on replay, but she was on the far left side and curled it to the back post by opening her hips. I'm like, that finish, that was top shelf. It's just a first-rate finish. I'm like, I don't know. She made it look easy until you went back and watched it and was like, no, that was a great finish. So that was huge, right? And then the John Carroll game was just, the shots were like 30-some to 2, and that's how they've been. But that's how they had been living through the whole tournament. They did the same thing to MIT. They did the same thing to Case Western. They got outshot by 20+ goals, but they won 1-0 because they would find a moment, score, and just defend. And that's what was happening in that game. The same thing. Like, you just couldn't break them down. And they almost scored against us. Like, they had a free kick and they almost scored. And gosh, with 4 minutes left, 6 minutes left in regulation, we were able to get end line deep and cut it back. And Hannah finished it, from like the 6. But I'm like, that's when you're like, it's got to come. Like, you think it's got to come, but you also know, I've been in this long enough to go, like, doesn't have to come. Right? Doesn't have to come. You're going to have your moment. So that was a relief one. It wasn't like, are we better than them or not? That wasn't the question. The question was, are you going to score? And thankfully, again, we, just unbelievable work by one of our players to get through like 2 or 3 tackles and then slip it to Hannah. Like, it was just a grit. It was a gritty goal.
Who was that? Who was that to make that assist, coach? Do you remember?
Talia Lloyd. She's
Okay.
she's our defensive midfielder, actually.
Okay.
She's our defensive midfielder who just went to the end line with the ball and cut it back. And just like, what are you doing up there?
Yeah, exactly. Well, coach,
she's putting the game on her shoulder and going like, somebody's got to go.
Yeah, that's those moments are amazing. And that's something I'm sure she'll probably never forget.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Washington University of St. Louis. So this is a team last year when we talked, you had just played them. And you said that, man, this team gets in our grill, high press. A team you hadn't played that style of team last year. If you look at their roster, it's an international team. I mean, they're from all over the country. One or two, maybe even outside of the country. And you guys are, obviously, as you said last year, Pennsylvania, one state over. Kind of a regional team. So it's a great contrast. Is it going to be and I believe you beat them on penalties last year, Coach. Is it going to be? And you were down 2-0, I believe. Is it going to be?
We were down 1-0.
No, 1-0.
And then we went up 2-1, and then they tied it. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, is it a similar type of challenge this year? Is your team a better matchup for them this year than last year? What's your thoughts going into the game?
I mean, I've just been watching, tape, of course. I would say they're very similar to what they were last year. Very similar in style and players. They play a little different system, but I think that whether good or bad, I think they play similar to us. So I think style-wise, it's going to be interesting. I'm not sure they had a really special player up front last year. Had like 15 goals, whatever. And she graduated. Now they're a little bit more balanced, which, again, is that good or bad, right? They have players who from all over the field have helped them through it. So collectively, I think it's just going to be a really similar game. They press, they work hard, they give up so few goals. They went, I think, 15 games without giving up a goal. First 15 games of the season, didn't give up a goal. And then they've only given up 7. Interestingly, they gave up 4 in their last game against Whitewater, against Wisconsin, which was a crazy game. Like, they're just so resilient. They were down 4-3 with a minute to go in the game in the last overtime and found a way to tie it up. Like, they don't give in. They don't quit.
Oh, wow. So that game is next week. You got a week and a half to prepare for it. We can have more to prepare for it. When will you guys go down to Salem and start your preparation there?
We don't go until Saturday or till Tuesday before. So we'll get back, this coming Sunday, the girls will come back. We'll train Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then head down after training on Tuesday. We get a day on Wednesday to do a little bit down there and play Thursday. Okay.
Well, you mentioned you've been watching a lot of film of Washington. How do you use that to your players' benefit? What I mean by that is, I would imagine you still want your players to play the Messiah way. You don't want them obsessed about what they're going to do, but yet you want to put them in a position to be as successful as possible. So as a coach, how do you do both? How do you prepare your team, but not abandon the way you guys play?
I think you hit it on the head, Julian. For me, like, it is much more about us than them. Like, I don't really give our girls a scout of anything. I give them a framework. I'll give them, this is their system. These are some players a little bit, but my plan, my job is to come up with a plan that fits within how we play to make them uncomfortable. Like, that's really what it comes down to defensively for me, is like, look at what they like to do and how we devise a scheme or whatever that might be to make it a little harder, that they're not able to just do the things that they like to do. And I'm sure they're doing the same thing. What is it that they like to do that we can disrupt a little bit or make it at least a little bit harder than allowing them to get into their comfort zone? And that's sort of the main things that I'll look at. We'll look a little bit at restarts or what's their general tendencies, but I don't spend a whole lot of time as far as that information to my players. It's more of like, okay, this is what I know they like to do. What are the things? Okay, what are the things that we can do offensively? Like, where are the spots that we can maybe find ourselves in good places and good matchups?
Yeah. Well, as a person who's won 6 national championships, to win the national final, you're going to have to beat the winner of Tufts and Cal Lutheran if you can advance.
Right.
How much time do you put on that potential rival in that, there's no tomorrow unless you take care of business on the first game. But I mean, obviously you want to be somewhat prepared because you're only going to have a day and a half or so to get ready. So do you think at all about the other teams, or you just focus on your team and Washington?
Honestly, at this point, it's us in Washington. We'll get to see, if we get to advance, I'll have seen them play. There'll be video available, and now we even have an extra day. And you're not. Let's be honest. At this point in the season, you're not changing a ton. It goes back to what I just said to you. We'll come up with like what's their system, what's their style, and what are the little tweaks that we need to do to just make sure we're prepared for that. In the end, let's take care of ourselves. It's a little wooden-esque. I'm just a big wooden fan, and I'm like, I believe them, right? If you take care of yourself and you can execute, then you become the other team's problem.
I mean, John Wooden's got like 200 things that you can live by. I've never
exactly.
The guy's amazing books. Well, Coach, I wish you the best luck. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the boys' team at Messiah. They didn't advance, did they?
No.
Yeah, and I saw them play, so I watched the game against Mary Washington. Mary Washington's local, and they were undefeated. Huge matchup. That Messiah team, that performance, it was rainy day, it was terrible weather. But one of the best teams I saw play all year. I mean, they were unbelievable the way they play. I mean, they're the attacking creativity, the weapons they have, the way they move the ball. Obviously, I don't want to put pressure on coaches. They have to go to the final four to be successful. But what do you think their challenges is to move to the next level? Is it luck of the draw like anything else, or?
Soccer's a crappy game.
Yeah.
It is. And maybe one of the most unfair games there is. No, their team's unbelievable. They are so good. I enjoy watching them play. Their talent level. There's a little they had their best player got hurt the game before the game they lost. Their goal scorer up front. And so he got hurt in the first game of the NCAA tournament. Didn't play the next game. And they missed him. They lose 1-0 on a free kick. Like that's the hard thing of soccer. And that's the thing where you go like, that's why runs like this that I go like, it's hard. People go like, oh, you just do it all the time. I go like, no, I've seen really good teams. Like there's a reason they were number one. They were the best team. They are so good.
Yeah.
But soccer doesn't care, right?
Yeah.
The game doesn't care. The only thing the game cares is that day. So it's a little unfair to go like, for them to go to the next level. They are the next level, but sometimes the game doesn't necessarily reward that.
Yeah, I think what's lost in the fact that you have 14 Final Four appearances is that it's tough to get that far. I mean, we all love the movie Hoosiers because we all love, the tournament run and, the one game and you're out. And it's, you have to be good, you have to be great, but you have to be lucky. And so
you gotta be lucky.
There's no guarantee you're ever going to get there no matter how good you are. And so, that makes what you accomplish that much greater. But again, I didn't mean to take a slight at the Messiah coach. I just, when I watched that team play, I'm like, how are you going to beat this team?
Exactly. They have all the pieces. They're really good. They had I think 7 fifth-year seniors. Like they had everything.
Yeah.
But sometimes the game isn't fair.
Yeah.
Well,
Coach, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Appreciate your time. You're I talk to coaches all over the country, and you're one of the most insightful and easiest guys to talk to, just, full of great stories and great insight. So I appreciate you make yourself available to me. I know this is a busy time for you.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, but I'll be watching from afar. Maybe next year if you play McDaniel, I think there's some teams that you could end up playing in the area. Hopefully, maybe I can stop by and meet you in person one of these days.
Yeah. Well, McDaniel's home next year.
Okay. Yeah.
They're at our place next year.
Yeah.
But that's probably not that far from you. That's probably an hour.
Yeah, probably an hour, right across the water from us. So, but anyway, well, Coach, again, I'll be cheering from afar.
Okay.
Appreciate you taking time to talk to me, and best luck to you and your team.
Thank you so much, Julian.
Okay, Coach. Take care.
Bye-bye.